In 2023, I set myself a challenge to see whether or not I could save money by growing in the tiny front garden of the former council house where I live here in the West Midlands in the UK. The garden is only around 3 metres by 3 metres, and this video tells the story of how I did this build, why I did it, and stick around for the end where I'm going to reveal whether or not I saved any money. Back in 2023 there was a real sense of crisis. Food prices were soaring. I couldn't believe the prices in the supermarket. Some budget supermarkets introduced rationing, which made me really angry that people on lower incomes were having to make difficult decisions about what quality of food to buy. I broke one of the rules of social media and posted while angry. As I was posting this video talking about food inequality, the number of followers on my account soared. I'd clearly hit a note. I decided to dig up my front garden to prove a point, to prove that anybody can grow their own food and you can save money by doing so. Straight away, I hit a bit of a problem. There was loads of hardcore rubble buried just underneath the surface of the garden. I'd originally planned to dig directly into the ground, but I had to do raised beds instead. I managed to salvage some anti-weed fabric from a nearby skip, put that down to create some paths. This needed to be a low maintenance garden. I have a very busy job and I didn't have the time to maintain it. I actually bought some wood. This was the biggest expense of the entire project, and I started building raised beds in the front garden that I would be planting into. I don't have any DIY experience, but I really enjoyed doing this project. Slowly the garden began to take shape. I drew a plan and I planned to include 5 raised beds. I left enough space so that I could walk between the raised beds. I filled the majority of the raised beds using organic material and a thin layer of topsoil, and I split the cost of the bulk bag with a neighbour, keeping the costs down. Remember, this project is all about proving a point, to prove that you can save money. I then took a break from the DIY and sowed some seeds indoors on windowsills, salad herbs like wild rocket, and soon they bloomed. It's so good to see those seedlings coming up. The garden was really starting to take shape. I managed to salvage some black paint and made it look smart, some bark from a local tree surgeon, and then it was time to plant out the seedlings and get the garden growing a little bit. I really look back fondly on those early days in the spring garden, chilly days planting those seedlings outside, but conditions were pretty good and the beds were set up properly and quickly the plants began to grow. I also set up a compost bin. This was £25 that I bought on Amazon, and it was important for me to get the compost going, get it cooking, to fuel later growing later on in the season. Spoiler, I'm really pleased with the results of that cheap purchase. I continued planting out more crops. I purchased some established plants as well to give myself a head start, and I factored that into all the budget, and I've accounted for that right at the end of the video. Planted out broad beans, spinach and salad herbs like Burnett salad. Winter turned to spring and spring turned into late spring. The garden just exploded into life. I'm always amazed by the acceleration of growth that happened. I started to harvest crops. I was amazed by the level of harvest that I was getting so early. Broad beans you can see me harvesting here were particularly productive, and it became a lifestyle for me. Instead of going to the shop, I would pop out into the front garden, and every single time I made a harvest, I made a note of the value of the crop based against a budget supermarket value. Remember, I'm doing this as an experiment, so I began a very geeky spreadsheet showing the costs and the value of the harvests from my front garden. I spent really precious moments out in the front garden, but more importantly, the time that I spent sharing it with people on social media were really precious to me. I really was sharing a message that anyone can do this, and the garden continued to bloom into summer. Warm summer days just increased the yield of French beans, Burnett salad, beautiful salad herb you can see here, and the harvests just continued as we started to change what we ate in the kitchen too. We started to eat more plant-based materials, put extra spinach and French beans into dishes. We felt amazing for it. It became a routine, harvesting ingredients, showing them off to the camera, sharing that real positive message. I was sharing my front garden with millions of people, and I really hoped I could make it work in terms of the numbers. We made a few unplanned additions to the garden too, planting a blueberry bush in an old barrel. Turns out blueberries are really expensive and Kate loves them. We got such good crops off that blueberry bush, and I also added some relatively expensive herbs like Thai basil in small pots, and we were harvesting them really regularly too. As the seasons changed, you can see the French beans gave into the wind. I became acutely aware that I needed to get the garden ready for autumn to keep it productive. And that meant a huge change around. It meant sowing loads more varieties in the summer ready for autumn. You can see me here clearing out all the tired summer crops in early September, ready to replace with the young, fresh seedlings for autumn. It's so important to realise that the autumn can be really productive. I'm dividing some salad herbs here. This is plants for free. You can see me dividing Burnett salad And these are all crops that are really super productive throughout the autumn, removing all the crops of summer to be replaced with fresh seedlings, varieties for autumn. But I wanted to optimise things more, so I added covers to several of the raised beds to really boost productivity through the winter. And wow, was I impressed with the results. The plants grew away in October, November and December underneath that cover, and it was absolutely amazing. You can see how happy they are in December, and that's reflected in the amount of crop that I was able to get. And that brings me on to the point of the video: did I save any money by growing in my front garden? I'm going to take you through it month by month, and you can see here for the month of March, the cost of the garden is effectively the setup cost. The majority of this cost came from the fact that I was buying wood, the cost of the topsoil, but I was able to reuse a lot of materials, salvage out of skips, which was a lot of fun. Despite keeping costs very minimal, I finished the month of March with a balance of minus £190. There were some more costs incurred in April as I bought some more seeds and the compost bin, but I actually got to start to harvest some crop, especially from the ready grown plants that I planted and the early seed sowing. So by the end of April I'd improved the balance, but I was still minus £154 as a result from the garden. In May the garden really got going. There was minimal expenses. I bought a few seeds, a little bit of seedling compost, but I harvested so much from the garden and I really pulled the balance back. By the end of May I was only minus £86. June was another really productive month with really minimal expenses, just a few seeds purchased, but I was harvesting mixed salad, spinach, broad beans, cut herbs, and by the end of June the balance was down to a deficit of only £32. It's important to be honest, and by July I was so burned out from doing my job and I'd dropped the ball slightly. I'd forgotten to sow as many seeds to replace the original spring crop as I should have, and so the output from the garden dropped a little bit in July. But I still harvested a lot of crop from the garden, and I actually broke even in July. I had a saving of £23 from my front garden. August was a changeover month in the front garden. The weather was absolutely perfect, and the plants that were already established were cropping heavily. Varieties such as blueberry, peas, kale, cut herbs, I was harvesting so much of them. And it was also a changeover month where I was very much concentrating on re-sowing varieties ready for autumn. There was some minimal cost involved buying seed, but the crop from August was really good, and by the end of August I was actually making a saving from my front garden, an overall saving of £69. September was another transition month as I was sowing crops for autumn. I still managed to harvest £48 worth of produce from the garden, and I wanted to take this opportunity to explain how I'm doing this maths. Of that £48, £18 of it was mixed salad crops, and that might sound like a lot to you, but to put it into context, that is only 3 or 4 bags of salad every single week to make that saving. It adds up really quickly, doesn't it? And by the end of September I'd actually made a saving of up to £117 from the front garden. I knew this was a modest saving, and to get people's attention I really needed the garden to stay productive for the autumnal months. The autumnal months are always more productive than you think, and actually in October I still got a really good crop from the garden. The cost that you can see here was a lot of reused materials, but I had to make some purchases in order to build the frame that went over the crops and increased productivity in October, November and December. Nevertheless, I continued steady progress, and by the end of October the saving was up to £152. The covers on the raised beds paid dividends, and in November I was harvesting loads of cut herbs, mixed salad, kale, spinach. I continued the progress, and I knew that this would make or break the project. And by the end of November the saving was up to £196. Likewise, the covers really boosted productivity. We had some good weather in December, and I was so delighted to get £40 worth of produce from the front garden in the month of December, which brought the total to £236 at the end of the year. There were lots of doubters when I first announced this project, people that said you couldn't save money by growing in such a small space. I am so delighted to have saved £236 doing this project. That adds up to a monthly saving of £19.67. But that's really, really conservative, because you're not factoring in the cost of travelling to a budget supermarket. And that's if you've got access to a budget supermarket. Many people don't. Anyway, I'm so delighted with that as a result. But the result of this garden was actually a lot more than just what you see on the screen. I had so much fun doing it. I had so much fun sharing this project with so many people over the course of the last year, and looking back, making this video. What do you think, guys? Have you enjoyed watching this, and are you persuaded to try and grow some food in the coming year? I really hope that you are persuaded, because I really firmly think that this is a way that you can take back control, give yourself some security and save yourself some money along the way. Really hope you enjoyed the video, guys.